All right, here's another exercise, but this exercise is a little bit more complicated than the earlier exercises. So I want you to implement this function, check speed. This function takes a parameter that's the speed of a car. Now in this program, I'm assuming that speed limit is 70 kilometers an hour. So if a car is driving under the speed limit, we get this OK message on the console. Similarly, if we pass 70 here, so if somebody is driving exactly at the speed limit, they're still good. We still get the OK message. Now for every 5 kilometers above the speed limit, they're going to get 1 point. So if I drive at 75 kilometers an hour, I get 1 point here. But what if I drive at 72 kilometers an hour? I'm still good. So for every 5 kilometers above the speed limit, we should give the driver 1 point. Now, as part of calculating the point here, you'll have to use one of the built-in functions in JavaScript. That is mass.floor. We can give this function a floating point number, like 1.3. Let's say 1.3 points. And this will convert that to the greatest integer. For example, if we go in the console here and type mass.floor of 1.3, we get 1. So you will have to use this function as part of your calculations, okay? Here's a tip for you. Now back to our check speed function. What if we pass 80 here? We should get 2 points, right? So we get 2 points, beautiful. Now what if we drive at 180 kilometers an hour? Our license is suspended. So if a driver gets more than 12 points, then their license should be suspended. So here's the logic for this function. I want you to spend 15 to 20 minutes to do this exercise. Once you're done, come back, continue watching. All right, now let's see how I solve this problem. So let's define a function called check speed. It takes this speed parameter. Now first we want to see if the speed is less than the speed limit. So here's a simple if condition. If speed is less than 70 kilometers an hour. We want to display console.log. Okay. Now the first thing I want to improve here is to turn this magic number into a constant, because someone else looking at this code may not know what 70 represents here. So you should avoid using magic numbers in your code. Always use constants to describe them. So here we can define a constant. Speed limit, we set it to 70, and then replace this magic number with speed limit. With this change, now our code is more expressive, and also, if you want to use this number somewhere else in this function, we don't have to repeat it multiple times. We have defined it here once, and we can reuse it in multiple places. If tomorrow the speed limit changes to, let's say 75 or 65, there is only a single place that we have to change, okay? So if the speed is less than the speed limit, we display OK. Otherwise, we should calculate the points. So here we need a simple calculation. We want to get the speed, subtract it from the speed limit, and then divide the result by 5. Because for every 5 kilometers above the speed limit, we should give them 1 point. Now, once again, we don't want to use this magic number here. It's not descriptive. So we want to turn this into a constant. So let's define another constant. We can call this kilometer per point and set it to 5. And then replace this magic number with km per point. So with this, we get the number of points that we should give to this driver. Now, the result of this expression can be a floating point number. So earlier I told you to use mass.floor to convert that floating point number to the greatest integer. So here, we can call mass.floor, and as an argument, we pass this expression here. So this is how we calculate the points. Now we should check to see if the driver gets more than 12 points. So we need another if statement. If points is greater than or equal to 12, we want to suspend their license. So console.log license suspended. Otherwise, we want to display the number of points on the console. So console.log points. And as a second argument, we pass this points variable. Now, technically here, I could also use a constant, and that's a better practice to make sure I don't accidentally modify these points here. So we change this to a constant. And if we accidentally try to modify points like this, we're going to get an error. Okay? So as I told you before, const or constant should be your default choice. If you want to reassign a variable, that's when you use the let keyword. Now let's test this program up to this point. So on the top, I'm going to call this function check speed and pass 50. Save the changes. We get OK. So far, so good. What if we drive exactly at the speed limit? That's weird. Instead of getting 0 points, we should get the OK message. So there is a bug in our condition here. So if speed is less than or equal to speed limit, we should get the OK message. Save the changes. Now the bug is solved. What if we drive 1 kilometer above the speed limit? Notice all the test cases I'm going through for this exercise. It's very important that when you write a function, test it with different values. So if we call this function with 71, what should we get here? We should still get the OK message instead of 0 points, because starting from 75, we should get the first point. So let's save the changes and see what we get. We got 0 points. So we still have a bug in this function. Well, we should actually change this condition to something like this. So we want to get the speed limit, in this case 70, at kilometer per point. So that would give us 75. If we drive less than 75, we're still good. But from 75 kilometers an hour or faster, we should get a point. So let's save the changes. At 71 kilometers an hour, we get the OK message. Beautiful. What if we drive at 75? We should get 1 point. So here's 1 point. What if we drive at 70, let's say 7 kilometers an hour? We should still get 1 point. So save the changes, 1 point, beautiful. What if we pass 80 here? We should get 2 points. There you go. Now to get 12 points, we have to drive 12 times 5, which is 60 kilometers above the speed limit. So if we pass 130 here, we should get 12 points and our license should be suspended. Save, license suspended. Beautiful. So our function is working. I just want to show you one more tip to make this code cleaner. So here we have this else block, and this has caused indentation here. Now, this is not a terribly bad thing, but it's better to avoid indentation if we can, because otherwise we have to scroll to the left and right to see what's happening here, right? So if this condition is true, we want to display OK on the console. Now, to get rid of this else block and the indentation, we can add a block here, display OK on the console, and then return. So with this, we'll jump out of this function and none of the code here will be executed. So with this, we can delete this else statement as well as the code block and remove the indentation.